Hello, welcome to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10, episode 145. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and our local partner, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. We are on episode 145, which means it is a news episode. So we're going to go through a few stories that I have come across over the last week or so and talk about those, share some ideas about how these stories can teach us a lesson to help us stay safer in cyberspace. We'll look at these. For sure, there are other stories. If you happen to run across a story you want me to highlight, reach out, send it to me, put it in the chat, send me an email. Call me on the phone, tell me about it, and I'll be happy to highlight that story as well, because there are certainly a lot of scary things happening out in the world today, and a lot of these things that we can learn lessons from. So let's dive into it and talk about 23andMe. 23andMe, we've talked a lot about 23andMe over the episodes over the last few years on 10 at 10. 23andMe has it's a website or a company where you can send in your DNA and it'll talk about your ancestry, makeup, some family connections if others have done 23andMe as well. We have talked about it in the past how depending on the ownership, which in this case it is majority Chinese owned, that the Chinese government can get access to this data. That's a nation state. This article is actually talking about hacker groups. A hacker has leaked an additional 4.1 million 23andMe genetic data profiles for people in Great Britain and Germany on a hacker forum. That's in addition to the Jewish data, 1 million Jewish profiles were leaked as well. The point of this article, first of all, yes, there's a danger there. There should be a concern there of using a DNA testing company because you're giving your DNA away. But if we expanded that to think about other types of data that we freely give away, we are at the mercy of the security of the company that we're giving it to. We're at the mercy of the ethics and the morals of the company that we're giving that data to. The Cambridge Analytica issue with Facebook from a few years ago, where they gave out our information out. We are giving Google our information all the time. They're using it in ads, but what else are they using it for? Yes, obviously these are hackers that are breaking in and stealing this information in this instance, but this should serve as a reminder and a warning for us to think about what it is that we're actually giving people. We should be worried. We should be concerned. And this is a good example of that. I came across this just recently. The article actually came out October 4th. 8 rules for civilian hackers during war, and then 4 obligations for states to restrain them. And I'm going to use this. This is actually through an international Red Cross type of group that published this. The article is actually really interesting in the sense that it lays out, it's almost the Geneva Conventions for hackers during war. If we're going to use cyberspace as a front for the Army, then we should commit to not hack civilians. Just like you don't bomb hospitals, you should not hack medical facilities. You should not hack those groups that are trying to support the war, that aren't focused on the military objectives of battle. Those groups should be off limits. And here's the catch. Do you think Russia's going to agree to these? Ukraine may or may not agree to these. Do you think Russia is? If if we're in a battle, in a war with someone, do you think the enemy's going to? Hopefully, but maybe not. We have to commit to be better. We have to do the right thing, and this lays out the rules that are the right things to do. But we are at war. We say we America isn't necessarily directly involved in battle on either conflict that's going on right now, but Ukraine, Russia clearly has an issue going on, has a war going on, and then Israel and the Palestinian area, Gaza. I mean that all that is clear that there are issues going on, wars going on. So how do we try to do the right thing from a hacking standpoint? We can put out rules, and we can encourage those folks to follow those. Another one that I wanted to highlight, and I'm going to go through these two real fast, but I want to make a point. Cyber attacks target medical aid for Palestinian websites amid Israel-Hamas conflict. Hackers for hire hit both sides in Israel-Hamas conflict. So we've got the Hamas side, we've got the Israel side, and if you've noticed, even the last day or so, there's been pro-Israel, pro-Hamas, which the in this conflict, in this war, whose side are you on? I actually have had a conversation with my family about what are you putting online in regard to support. I am sure that if you're watching this, you have a side. I mean, you support one side more than the other. But here's the catch. If you post that online, and this is the whole reason I want to talk about this, is that if you post this online, then you're making yourself a target. There are hackers being hired to hit both sides in the Israel-Hamas conflict. That's what this article says. We just talked about it hitting a medical website on the slide before, or on the screen before. I don't want to be a target. I don't want to be a target. I don't want to put my what side I support online or on Facebook, because I don't want a hacker group to mine data, and if they attack all the people on one side or the other, I don't want to be part of that. So again, it goes back to the 23andMe. You have to be very careful of the data that you're presenting online, because you could inadvertently find yourself being a target of an attack just because you support one side or the other. Just be mindful. I'm not saying you don't do it. It's up to you. It's your own decision. Hopefully you're an adult and you can make that decision. But what I am saying is that there's a risk associated with trumpeting one side or the other, not just from a harassment standpoint, but truly from a hackers targeting group standpoint. All right. Something, and we'll talk more about this one over the coming weeks. I think this is an important thing to talk about, is that we need to learn and follow some tips on how to partner with law enforcement following a cyber attack. First of all, not enough organizations are reporting cyber attacks. We need to do a better job of reporting attacks. But what role can organizations expect law enforcement to play in an aftermath of a cyber attack? And how do you know who to call, or where to call, when to call, and how do you get in contact with law enforcement? This article is a nice one that talks about that. And what we can do, follow the link that's in the show notes, and you can learn more about that, because that's an important piece to do. And then let me wrap up on this one. It has been, this is looking back. Let me tell you the titles. 10 years in review, the cost of a data breach. Ponemon Institute has for a long time been issuing the cost of a data breach. And I just want to point this out, that 10 years ago, the average cost of a data breach was $3.5 million. Today, the average cost is $4.45 million. and that's the cost of the average cost of a data breach. Meanwhile, companies in the U.S. spend an average of $9.48 million per breach, according to the latest report. Numbers are going up. Attacks are going up. You need to be prepared for that and plan accordingly. There's a lot of things that you can do to plan ahead of time so that if you are the victim of a data breach, that cost may not be as much as it could be. Backups, for example, make sure you have backups. So anyway, just a few things that I wanted to highlight today. There's a lot more that we could talk about. I'm probably am going through too many articles at a time because we're way over on time again today. But anyway, if you have articles you want me to highlight, let me know, and I will be happy to add them to the mix. And otherwise, thank you very much for joining 10 at 10, and I'll see you next week back here on 10 at 10. Thank you.